good morning, everyone. And thank you for such kind introduction. And as you know that I'm a heritage conservator, first of all, I would like to mention this thing, that this field, heritage conservation, is vast. And it is multidisciplinary. Over the years, we have not just gone through or just done scientific work on the historical objects. We have also studied their history, their material. So it is not just science, because you have to understand the emotional attachment of people in general, everybody, to the objects. So as you were seeing in this CV, and as Sir talked about, today I'll be talking about archives, but it is much more beyond the archives. The history or our heritage, it involves monuments, sculptures, collections, wall paintings, and what I have seen in all these projects is that not a single monument had plain walls. They were all decorated with tempera and stucco work, gilded work. And this gilding was very frequently used, frequently done in almost all the buildings. If you go across Punjab, and I was surprised to see that we just think about Rajasthan, if we talk about heritage and monuments and heritage buildings, but such huge collection, such huge heritage series of, you can say, buildings, monuments in Punjab itself. And all of them, they have beautiful and stucco and gilded work throughout. And I would like you to visit Kila Mubarak especially, because it has beautiful mirror and glass work, colored glass work. And generally we see that in the glass work, it is the glass which is colored, but it is also painted. So you'll find a huge historical experience if you just try to explore Punjab. And throughout India, of course. But today my talk is restricted to, it is just about archives. And in archives also, it is a very elaborate study. And I won't be able to discuss all the scientific methods, but I have chosen just 2-3 basic things that I think we need in our country, and they should be popularized. And we don't have, even in our national or state archives, the preservation part is not that well taken care of. There are methods, and I think the awareness is required. And it is our very little steps, like one project, if you won't remember, but it is setting up of the Samaj Museum. And in that, we have tried for the first time in India to have display cases which are microenvironment controlled. So I'll talk about microenvironment control today, and a little bit of introduction, then a case study of one archival object, and then preservation of measures in the archives that should be taken. It's not like we might not be having all of them in our archives. And then there are 2 methods. One is of display and storage, and another one is a treatment process in archives. And these are some things which are not being done in our archives. So I'll start with the introduction. So preservation can be just preventive, or it can be, first you have to take care of the damaging parts to do the curative treatment, and then go for preservation. Like in this picture, there are some pieces, the paper has gone brittle. This is all gilded. This is Pothi of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, 5th Guru. And this was, 6th Guruji was always carrying this with him. And over these 450 years, maybe it was under control of like Gurdwara people or custody of some few people, and some pages are missing in it, but it is every chapter was starting with a very nice, very beautiful gilded decoration. In these 400 years, the paper had naturally aged. And in this aging, paper generally gets brittle, it is oxidized, it gets brittle. So if you're flipping it, it won't flip properly. It is not flexible enough. And if you want to flip it, it will break off at that point. So there were pieces lying here and there within the book that had to be taken care of before we tried to preserve them. So preservation methods depend on two things. So before I go to the preservation thing, first is what material it is made of, because archival material is not just paper. These days we have pen drives, we have hard disks, and in the times long back, thousands of years back, we had clay tablets. And of course, in India, we had birch bark and palm leaf manuscripts, stone. Ashokan scripts are written on stone at so many places. So on metal, tamrapatra, you will find them in National Museum. So it depends on the material. So what we are preserving, but the methods that I'll be talking about today, they are in general for all the materials. So that's why I have taken up those methods. So preservation would depend on the material, and secondly, the damage type. What kind of damage they are experiencing. So first and foremost step for all scientific preservation is the scientific condition assessment. You have to see the object, what material it is made of. If it is made of, suppose, metal, which kind of metal? If it is made of paper, paper is also of different kinds. And we won't have time today, but I can talk about at length on all these things, even the paper, that how it changed with time and area and locality, and what are the positive and negative points of that. So the first thing is to assess the condition, do the scientific analysis, then we decide. Then the main step is decision making. Here we decide upon what things we can do and where we have to stop. Maybe there is some damage and we are treating it, but still, maybe suppose there's a stain and it's not going away. It doesn't matter. If it is not damaging the object further, we can leave it like that. So decision making, where we have to stop also, and what all processes we have to do. Then preservation proposal is made, and then the proper treatment is executed, and preservation is done. So all these steps are thoroughly documented with still pictures, videos, and written text. The material, as I said, that the first thing is material and archives. That is important to know, but I won't talk about it in details. It starts from the clay tablet, metal, to paper, floppies, CDs, pen drives, hard disks. So I'll focus more on paper. So second thing is deterioration problems in paper based on the archival material. A paper-based archival material. And here in this picture, it's not very clear, but you can see all different kinds of damages. On the right side over here, this is a kind of grazing that is done by silverfish. Silverfish, we generally find, it's an insect found in books and archives, and it just grazes on the surface. It doesn't create holes. Holes are done by different kind of insects. They're done by termites and all. So this is the surface grazing done by silverfish. You can find little fungal growth around both the edges, left and right, a little tear over here, and it is crushed. So it's not a very clear picture. So I'm just taking 4, rather fifth one is not shown here. That is also what I'll mention over here. First is insect infestation. The first two are deterioration problems, insect infestation, and I'll show the picture in next slide. Second is microbial growth. Third is accelerated aging due to storage conditions, or it can be inherent thing also. And the last picture, the fourth, is damages due to negligence or wrong type of repairs. So I'll just show you the pictures. And fifth point that I wanted to say was inherent problems, like if the ink used, like the iron gall ink. If most of the documents till 18th, 19th century were done, even it is used today also, were done by iron galling, which is quite acidic in nature. And we have found all the documents, wherever the ink is more thick, the paper has just burned from that area. So I don't have a picture right now of that. This is about the insect attack. This is a holy book, Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the spine damaged by insects. It is completely treated now. And this is a map. You can't, it doesn't look like a map now because it is all destroyed by fungus. And this was from National Rail Museum. These pictures are showing the brittleness due to aging and the inherent character of the paper. Like with time, the paper oxidizes, it turns brown and brittle. And if you try to flip it, it will break rather than being flexible and curling. And on the left picture, you can see this thing, because when the person would have tried to turn the page, it had just broken from the spine area. And this is, again, the inherent, as I talked about the iron galling, this is about the green pigment used in this particular miniature painting. This is from Janam Sakhi, Guru Nanak Dev Ji's life story, handwritten. Again, it is from 1700, so 18th century. If you see on the left side, I'll take a pen or laser pointer. So I hope you can see that. If you see on the left side, this area, so because it was touching the green pigment, these papers were touching each other. So wherever there was a green pigment, it is a little brown. So the acidity is transferred to the next paper. And what has happened to itself, the paper itself, which was painted, you see the backside. Now I'm showing the backside of the paper. Wherever there is this green grass, the paper has almost burned. It was brittle. I've just shown this one page. I have a presentation on this whole case study, in which we find other pages where this area is either broken. In some of the pages, it is broken. And in some pages, it is already lost. It might have been broken at some point in time and fallen off. So these are the deterioration problems. Now the case study. This is an album, a kind of scrapbook from Army Archives. It is from 1971 India-Pakistan War. It's not. If you take laser, it won't work. Yeah. So if you see the pages, again, the same problem of brittleness. When it would have been flipped or the pages would have been turned over, it is breaking off and is breaking off the page which was pasted on it, which is basically the important record. And there were some pictures, and in old albums I have seen of your grandparents or parents, they had this interleaving paper. And this was stuck on the pictures and it wouldn't come off easily. And the pictures are all pasted through and through with glue. This is again the damage because of flipping, the brittleness. Paper becomes brittle with time. And if you can, I want to take the pointer, but here, yeah, if you can see the arrow, yes, here, this brown spot and this brown spot, this is actually, we saw, you won't be able to judge from here, but if you see it is in front of you, you could make out it is because of something at the back. And it was mainly in the glued areas. In the next pictures, I think it would be clear. Again, the damage of brittleness. In this, maybe it is more clear. Can you see these edges, these corners? These whole edges, they are brown, a little stained, they're brownish. And a cross kind of thing in the center is also brown. So you can make out here the glue was applied and the glue has become acidic. The glues at that time in 70s and 80s, they were transparent tube mein aati thi glues. So that glue has acidified over time. At that time, it would have been transparent. It wouldn't have been visible like this. But over the period of time, it acidified, it oxidized, and it turned brown, and it is transferring the acidity to the paper. So these things, if you see, they are properly, and these are, you can see the cross mark in the center and the edges all glued, but there were pages which were glued throughout. The whole paper was applied with a glue and then pasted, and they were stuck badly. Even in these, if you try to remove, and we wanted to remove it, because the black paper is more brittle, and if they're not removed, they'll also break with the black paper, as we have seen in other slides, other pictures. So it needs to be removed, and this is in much better condition. The damage is more because of the glue and the back paper. So we wanted to remove it. Luckily, we found that it was water soluble. The glue was water soluble, so it can be removed with water, but not that easily. It has to be there for some time to dissolve it, to soften it. Because with age, when the glue becomes oxidized and brown, its solubility also decreases. Initially, when the glue is fresh, if you add water, it will just get diluted, but it will dissolve. But with age, the solubility decreases. So it takes a lot of time. And secondly, you can see that they have made some marks with sketch pen, and they have written certain things. They are important. And we tested, they were water soluble. So if we treat this thing with water, if we spray water or give a mist or put it in water, all these things would have dissolved. So the writings. So water is a solution, but we cannot apply water without damaging these pen marks and whatever notes they have written. And even the pictures on the bottom and other pages, there were many photographs. They were taken from different cameras, so they had different techniques of developing. So the prints were not all same. Some of the prints they were water sensitive. So we had to devise a scientific way. We had to think scientifically of how to make water reach the glue, but not the top of the paper. So this is a very rough diagram I made yesterday, so I'm sorry for that. And it was made directly on the computer. But with laser, pointer, I would like to explain this paper. This is a blotting paper. What we took was a blotting paper. We wetted it. It was dipped in water. It is soaked in water. And on top of it is a polyester web. It is a spongy kind of thing, polyester a web with the top. You can see the top is white. The thickness is gray. It is a web of fibers, polyester fibers. And on the top is a layer. It is a very thin plastic-like membrane, white membrane, milky membrane, which is transparable. Means it can just allow water molecules to pass through it and nothing else. So, and on the top of this polyester web with polyurethane membrane, we have kept this sheet, black sheet of the album. Facing upwards means the map should be upwards so that we can observe whatever changes are happening. If the water vapor is damaging it or is starting to begin to dissolve something, we can just immediately stop it, arrest it at that point. And this whole setup is covered with a mylar sheet. Mylar is again a polyester sheet. It is like a polythene, not the normal polythene. It is a different kind of polythene. We have different kinds of polythenes you'll see further in this presentation. And we have put weights all over. I've just made 4 of them, but we had put also. So this is the actual picture how we have done. This is one tray. So in next video, you'll see another one. So we had kept these things on top of it and covered with the mylar. So the water vapors won't directly go on the top. they are moving through the polyester web, through the transparable membrane to the back of the paper only. And we are keeping it just for the time, and we are checking it, and in the first or second sheet, we came to know how much time it is taking. So this is what happens when we take out. It's not working. I think this is a copied one. Huh? So I won't be able to show you the videos. It's not working. If I could attach my computer, I could have, I think I'll try.
मैम you won't be able to play this because आपने वीडियोस कॉपी नहीं की है ना इसमें.
हाँ.
तो या तो आपको पेन ड्राइव से कॉपी करनी पड़ेगी वीडियोस भी ना, बिकॉज आपने लिंक जो दिया हुआ है उसका डेटा भी होना चाहिए.
So pen drive is lying there. Okay, I'll see. Would you like to see this? I think I would have loved to show this because these photographs were pasted thoroughly, and with a spatula, even a sharp thing, blade, anything, nobody could have taken it out. And how easily, smoothly it came out by this setup. My laptop. No, I have it. I have it. कोई यूएसबी पोर्ट मैं खाली कर सकती हूँ यहाँ पे?
मैम एक फ्री होगा. I'm just
I have to go out of this presentation.
Yeah, मैम just press escape and नीचे ओपन कर लीजिए. इसको भी मैम मिनिमाइज कर दीजिए मैम. मिनिमाइज. Yes, minimize. Minimize this. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So these sort of things, by the time it is opening, let's see if it opens up. This is just one technique. Generally, we use water in different ways. We dip the documents in water, and we do it very often because these documents are, with time, they become very acidic. And to remove the acidity, we have to wash them. We use mist. This is a whole, it will take a lot of time if I just go into the water treatment kind of thing. But let's see if I can show you this video. This is a very mild kind of treatment. Water is being used, but in a very mild way and in a very controlled way. And when you remove the mylar sheet, after a few hours, it won't happen immediately. Even after half an hour, it didn't happen. It was still very hardly stuck to the backing paper. But after 6-7 hours, it got removed very smoothly. So you have to apply, the decision making has to be very thorough. It needs a lot of understanding and experience and knowledge. So this one you'll see, and we'll find that there is very important information because those days people used to write whatever is related to that picture, they would write at the back of it for memories. So in this particular picture, you can see that there is some written stuff over here. And you can see the black thing coming out. That means this picture was initially stuck on a different album, black page, because it is not this black page. This page was smooth. There was nothing removed from this black page. Even in this one, you'll see. So this, our field is too vast, and it was very difficult for me to decide upon what I want to show you today. And yeah, that nothing on that, nothing lost on the black paper, but here there's a blacking. So it must have been on a different album earlier. So this is, so can I show it from this only, from pen drive only?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So that's it. This is another video of my team now. They are taking out another map. It was badly stuck. You can see how the wrinkles on the top, and another important observation over here. There were many such cases in this album only. In every case, whatever we study, it is always so very interesting. This field in itself is very interesting. We found another piece of paper, and that was again from a different map. But it was used to repair. There was a tear, if I think it is. So to mend the tear, they had taken a piece from another map, उसको फाड़ के उसके नीचे ऐसे paste कर दिया हुआ था. So yeah, this tear that you can see, so it was on top of that. And that area was brown from in the front also, because there was a glue, acidified glue at the back. So these are just two of these things. And this is the after condition of the same paper that you saw in the last video. Earlier, it was all broken. Rather, the left portion was all broken. And it was in two pieces. And these photographs were saved without any damage from water. And we made two copies. One is the original that we put on the white paper, which is acid-free paper, which is archival paper, so that they don't deteriorate further for many hundreds of years. And this we made exactly, this is a copy, just to have the same look of the black album. So we created a copy exactly like the black album. And we had not pasted these whatever archival material, maps, print, photographs, or anything with glue. We mylar corners, so there is nothing which is nothing in between the nothing sticking in between the backing and the original paper. So they're free, and there's no glue which would also acidify or give a complicated kind of damage. So they were all pasted with these sort of mylar corners, conservation grade. This is the album after conservation. So these photographs are getting damaged. Those brown stains are because of acidity and because of the glue. And many of the photographs were all either their surface was damaged because of the interleaving, or they were torn or something. Uh-oh. It would be a long video otherwise. So I'll just show you that how it came up after conservation. And not just this. This was the conservation treatment part. How we treated the all broken of that archival album. This is a box. It looks like an ordinary cardboard box, but the board of which this is made is a foam core board in normal language, we can say, and it is acid-free board, which is having a layer, micro chamber or a spongy kind of layer in between, which filters off all the harmful gases or particles when the air passes through it, whatever passes through it. So it looks normal board, normal box, but it is made of a foam core board, which is acid-free, which is a conservation and will protect the album in future. Not just this, inside the box, you see these strips, yellowish brown strips. They are made of special material which controls the humidity. And they work, why I have put this amount of strips only? Because I have calculated the air inside the box after keeping the album, because some volume would be occupied by the album. And for each cubic meter of air, a fixed amount of these big sheets are required. So we calculated the amount of air, and accordingly we took the area, the amount of these sheets that would be required, and they are pasted at regular intervals. And what are these sheets? These sheets are controlling the humidity in the air inside in a particular range, say 50 to 60%. So whenever the humidity goes above 60%, these sheets would absorb the excess of humidity. And whenever it goes below 50%, it will release that much amount of humidity, moisture. So it will keep the moisture in the air in a very good range, which is ideal for its preservation. Because if the humidity goes very down, it is again damaging for the paper. And if it goes too high, that is harmful. So first we treated this archival object, then we preserved it in a proper way. It is not just for this object we have done it, and another thing, we have kept here a data logger. And we tested it first, and then we put it in the box to record the humidity, temperature, and dew point of every day, every hour. So this is the testing thing, because after this, this box was gone. It was given back to the client. So if you see this purple thing, this was initially we were testing if it is working well. And this little green period, this little green area, this line, is when it was kept for testing in the box, whether it is working, the microenvironment that we have created, whether it is working well or not. So here you can see in this red line, this is fluctuating. The humidity is fluctuating all through the month of January and February, some days of January and February. And just before we gave it back to the client, here it is almost a straight line. So it is controlled by those little strips. And we had to test it before we give it. So we created a microenvironment and we tested it with a data logger. This was one case study. The topic is the scientific methods in archives. Now I'll be talking about the preservation measures in archives in general. And one way of preserving archival material is to control and maintain the microenvironment, as you would have understood in the last case study. So if we control the microenvironment, all these damages are happening because of the pests or humidity changes, temperature changes. Temperature is not that damaging as is the humidity fluctuation. So if we control the microenvironment, we'll preserve the objects. And here in this case, the archives. This is a picture of long time back in our museum, Chandigarh Museum. We had a textile gallery. And this is one of the display cases. So these sort of display cases you can see all over the country. Wherever you go in our country, if you go to a museum, you'll find display cases which are like this and made of wood and glass. So what happens in these normal, usual display cases in cabinets? I haven't given a close-up of this, but here, somewhere at this corner, the glasses are not properly joined. And this happens these days also. Just a few months earlier, we got a call from Shimla Museum because one of their very important objects was deteriorating. And I knew it would happen because I have visited the museum many times and I couldn't convey the authorities that these are not proper display cases. The air that is entering, that one had bigger gap between the glasses. So in any museum in our country, if you go, you'll find these kind of display cases, though some of them would be sealed, but no sealing till date, not in our country, in the world, is perfect. If you do with silicone thing, that won't be 100% sealed. There is some discrepancy, there's some exchange of air happening. So whatever air through these gaps whatever air is entering, it cannot find the way back. So whatever dust particles are going inside, they'll settle there. And they won't be able to find, they're not living things to find some way out. So they'll settle there. And so the air inside is stagnant. It is closed, still not properly closed. So there is a lot of trapped dust, heat, and humidity. Apart from this, they also have trapped microorganisms, the spores of microorganisms. Here, I would like to go into science, which is not very difficult. In our 9th, 10th, maybe science, we have studied in physics that whenever we are talking about some particular thing, that particular area or object is taken as a system, and anything around it is called the environment. The surroundings are called the environment, universe. So here, the system, actually, I'm taking it as this display case. So there is an air inside the display case, and that is what we'll call the microenvironment. And the air that is outside the display case, everywhere around, that is the proper environment of that place. So this system can be a display case or a storage cabinet also in an archival scenario. And what are we basically looking in this microenvironment? Remember, I'm talking about the microenvironment for preservation of archival material. Archival material is either kept in display cases or in cabinets. So what are we looking for in this microenvironment? We are looking for the dust, microbial spores, gases, humidity, light, and heat. Light we do need. We cannot just stop light from entering, because otherwise we won't be able to see the object. So these are the things we are interested in. And another thing I would, so this is the building internal environment is the and systems microenvironment is also there. Now buildings that are using HVAC don't need that much of protection. Centralized जहाँ पर air conditioning HEPA method से होती है, तो उसमें they are also taking care of the pollutants. So in those buildings, not much needs to be done. Rather, in those buildings, the display cases are equipped with something to circulate the air inside and outside. So that, because that outside air is healthy. Now here again, going back to the science of school, we also studied that if there's a system and there are surroundings, there are 3 types of systems. Open systems in which the matter as well as energy can move in and out of that system. Closed system in which the matter is restricted from moving in or out, but energy can move in and out. And third is isolated system where neither matter nor energy can be exchanged, like thermal flasks we use. So there, even the heat is not going out, but they are not also, they're also not perfect 100% isolated. These are the examples of systems. This is a display case, and again, a handwritten manuscript is displayed. There are many discrepancies in this. This is from an Indian museum only. And you can see a lot of dust on the cloth. There would be dust on the manuscript also. There is some waviness. If we see the close-up of this manuscript, there was a waviness. And waviness comes from humidity changes. Because paper expands when humidity is increased, it contracts when humidity is reduced. So there is a waviness caused because of these fluctuations. And this display case also has its own gaps in the glass. And second picture is of a storage room of a museum in India. And you can see these termite tunnels. There were much more than these, and they are entering the cabinets. And there was a huge fungal growth also inside the cabinets. So I'm showing this because we are talking about archival preservation, and we should know, as I told you in the introduction, that the deteriorating agents. So we can preserve if we can save our system or objects from these deteriorating agents. And some of them are these. So I'm not going into this. This is again humidity and how it affects. It enters the display case, and it can enter. Some things are framed also through the material of the frame or display case itself. Like if it is a board, so it can enter through the board. And there is convection current, and for example, this one. So this is a sketch which was hung on a wall of a museum, and the waviness is because the humidity is entering inside, and it is trapped inside. And with the temperature changes, it is causing these expansion and contraction of paper. This is another example of a framed, now it is kept on a table. And this is a page of Bhagavad Purana, I think, and somebody had displayed it in their house. And it was hung on a wall, which was exterior wall. So whatever rain and heat and everything was affecting it. So the humidity is trapped inside, and the fungal spores which have entered it, they found a good substrata to grow upon, and the food also. Now the solutions, these were the problems in the archival material. Solutions and scientific method of methods for preservation. So what we have just talked about is we want to create a microenvironment which is ideal, which does not allow insects, fungal spores to enter, pollutants to enter, or humidity to change, or temperature to change. Temperature is not that harmful. So we need a microenvironment for all these objects, even the archives, whether in the display or in the storage cabinet. So for that microenvironment, we need specially designed storage cabinets or display cases. Let's see. These are some examples. These pictures are from museums abroad. In India, we still don't have. We have just started manufacturing. I told you that we've done just one Dev Samaj museum that we have preserved with these special. This is the first time that we are creating. We are fabricating them. In India, there's only one case of this special case. That is in Rashtrapati Bhavan, our Parliament House, our Constitution. There are two copies of our original Constitution. One is in Hindi, one is in English. And they are stored in small cabinets, small display cases, where the microenvironment is controlled. And that was also done a long time back with the help of a US organization, Getty. Getty has good funding, and they help out. They reach out to you and help. So that was done a long time back. After that, we are now trying, and we have successfully done it in two museums. One display case we have just installed in Shimla State Museum for that important object. It was a skeleton and some objects, a skeleton displayed over there, and another, there are many such display cases in Dev Samaj Museum. So I'll show you some pictures. These are two such display cases. The dots, black dots you can see at the bottom are actually the keys. So they are, because this is the first time we are doing it. So they were just installed, and we took the pictures at that time. So these are important photographs of their guru. Important documents of Dev Samaj. And so they are kept here. The humidity, it's very interesting. Now we have material and technique to control the humidity inside. You can read them. These are slanting. You can read them, and there's no light damage because we put a UV filter like you have in your cars. This is again a video of the display case we have installed in Shimla State Museum. So this is the display case. Interesting thing is that if you look into it, I'll just play it again later. Normally the wooden display cases, wooden glass, they are fixed. So if you have to change the object, you have to take out, you have to call the carpenter. He'll take out the beading from one or two sides, and then the glass is taken out, lifted out. You cannot open and close it. There's no locking system, and there's no micro control. So we are for our time, we are trying to create a display case and cabinets which are openable, though it was a difficult task because this is a 6 feet long, because it had to, they had to keep a skeleton, a human skeleton. So it was, and some objects also. So the opening system gets more complicated when the display case or the cabinet is big. So for smaller display cases like the earlier one that I have shown you, it was easier. Just like in racks, we open and close. But as the size goes big, the system needs more into it, more technology into it. And it is not just that it is openable. I am lifting this bottom also. And under this bottom, means under the object, we'll keep all the humidity buffering material, the things which will control the humidity, a data logger, and another equipment to control the air pressure. So the air pressure inside this display case is, now they're proudly showing it to a foreign delegate. This is just recent, a few months back we have installed. So positive pressure, what does it do? Inside this box, this display case, the air inside it has a positive pressure, because and it will not allow anything to come inside through any leakage, though it is perfectly sealed, but even perfect sealing has some gaps, and the air would enter through those gaps. So because of the positive pressure, the air cannot enter. So no microbes, no pollutants, no dust, nothing can enter inside. So this is how we can protect our archival or other objects. There are these are different shapes and sizes of these display cases. Again, you can see the data logger, like I showed you, we had kept it in a box with the album. And the humidity is not just controlled by this white sheet at the back. That is a special material. It's not normal paper. It looks very normal kind of white, thick paper, but it is not. If you touch it, if you take it in your hand, it is totally different. It is more like fabric. And it is a special thing with special chemical that is controlling the humidity. Just like silica. I've also kept this for a test. Like in one display case, we just kept the sheet. In the other one, we also kept this silica gel. Silica needs to be recharged. These are, I haven't shown the picture over here. I have very beautiful pictures of the central window, the circle, if you see, and the center of the silica gel cassette, this box. This is a window through which you can see the color of the silica inside. Silica is again a humidity buffering material, but it needs recharging. This paper doesn't need recharging. It is a different material than silica. And let me know the time if I'm just going, though it was just a few things left. So it is, otherwise it is blue in color, but as it absorbs the moisture, it turns pink. And when it is pink, then you have to recharge it by putting it in an oven. It's a proper procedure, or putting it in sun. So it releases all its moisture and gets back to the original color. Then you can put it again to absorb more moisture, extra moisture. So this is just to do the comparative study, if the paper in itself is sufficient or not, or if we need some silica-like material also. And these are the reports of the data logger. They are not very clear. In the left one, the microenvironment is not controlled, so humidity, the blue line is fluctuating too much. But on the right one, it is, after this point, it is much in the range of like 50 to 60. It depends on the objects, on the collection. If we want it in between 40 to 50 or 50 to 60, so it is within that range. This was all about the passive control. we have put a material which is absorbing or releasing the humidity. There is another system which we haven't still, whatever we have developed, they have just active system in the controlling the positive pressure to avoid dust. But there is a better active microenvironment control system also, which we haven't, in India, we haven't yet developed. We haven't done that work. But abroad, in all the good big museums, if you go to US Met Museums, Australian or any European museum, they have display cases which are microenvironment controlled, and they have active microenvironment control in cases where the objects are priceless. What is this active microenvironment control? It is so accurate that there are devices. They meet the most stringent conservation requirements. They have devices which keep a check on the temperature also. We were just talking about humidity in earlier display cases that we have developed. We have just started doing it. But you can also control the temperature, and they are keeping a record. There's a machine, there are indicators, sensors that check the temperature and humidity at every point in time. And as soon as there is any change, they become active, and they actively keep it at that level only. So this is what we are not doing. We are not controlling the temperature right now. The display cases I showed that we have tried to develop, they are not controlling the temperature. And humidity also, it is passive. There's no electricity consumption or every moment record of the changes in humidity. So for priceless objects, much more can be done. We can also control the temperature, and it can be active. Like by electricity, it would be switched on automatically whenever there is a change in temperature or humidity. And also, we can remove oxygen from the display case or cabinet, because main deterioration is because of oxidation. So paper oxidizes, or any organic material would oxidize. Even inorganic materials would also oxidize. So oxygen is the main cause at times. So if the object is very priceless, then we can remove the oxygen and replace it with nitrogen. And that is what we are trying to do in the Shimla display case. And we have given a provision for nitrogen. So it would be ultimately, it would have all these things. It would have oxygen-free microenvironment with nitrogen. And we have done it for certain things. What would it give? I just rushed through it. There won't be any insect pests or germs, because every living being needs oxygen apart from anaerobic bacteria, anaerobic microorganisms. So everything would need oxygen to survive. And so there won't be any biodeterioration. There would be no dust because there's a positive pressure. No pollutants, no germs coming inside, and constant relative humidity, constant temperature. We have devices for that. And acid and germ-free environment, acid-free as well as germ-free. So this is what we get. And this is a diagram, I won't go into it. It is just showing that we can have, if it is a big institute having many cabinets or many display cases, so you can have a microenvironment regulating generator. And you can just connect it to all those display cases or cabinets. This was about the microenvironment control. And it was for the cabinets and display cases that we have done. I'm again coming back to the storage condition, and right picture is, we already saw it in earlier slide about the tunnels, the biodeterioration, and the left picture is what we have done for an organization in Gujarat. We are not doing it we are associated with them on a regular basis. So whenever they have problem, they call us and we give them the advice. And initially we have trained them, trained their staff, trained everybody, so that they are self-sufficient now. So they do call us. This month also I was called upon by them, but they are quite in many ways. They can manage themselves on the storage conditions and whatever collections. They keep on coming up with new collections, digging out their old things of their gurus, different 2-3 gurus. So let's see the storage conditions in Anoxia. When we don't have enough funding for such systems, display cases, maybe all organizations cannot afford to have those display cases that one organization might have, then we can do it on a smaller scale. Here also, I would talk about the microenvironment. They had a huge collection, and at that point in time, I got a call from this organization once when they saw these termite tunnels. So they had all their collection in one room, and suddenly one day they saw these tunnels of termite, and they thought that our collection will, if we don't take an immediate step, it would be gone. So we thought of a solution. First of all, we changed the place. And this is what I talk about a lot. And I want to create awareness for all institutes and organizations. Everybody has their archives, libraries, and all. Anoxia. Anoxia, if taken for human beings, it is not a good thing. Anoxia is a disease. A person gets very weak, undernourished and all, that is. But here, anoxia is absence of oxygen. And why we need this anoxia? It is to prevent the biodeterioration, because if there is no oxygen, there won't be any insects, pests, or fungal things. And secondly, to prevent the oxidation-related deterioration problems. So दोनों चीजें ये कर रहा है. बायोडिटरेशन को भी रोक रहा है और केमिकल डिटोरेशन जो हो रही है उसको भी रोक देगा, because there's no oxygen. And practical experience has shown, but we are not doing it in India right now. I've just done it for this Gujarat thing and one Solan project. Though wherever I work, I always encourage this. Why encourage this? Because generally what we do for pest management, pest control वालों को बुलाते हैं, they spray poisonous things. So environment pollute hota hai, and it affects our health also. In museums also, they have fumigation chambers. Even National Archives, they have fumigation chambers, National Museum. And they put everything inside, whatever is infested, and they think it is at risk. And they put it on, and there is some gas, some poisonous gas, or at times carbon dioxide also. And that takes care of the pests. Just. So that is not good for environment and human health. And where we got this idea from is from the food industry. Since 1970s, there was a research going on how to preserve the food. We have food packets, even the chips, potato chips, they are filled with nitrogen. So oxygen is removed, and we have those even tea boxes of tea leaves. They are vacuum packed. They proudly say that these are vacuum packed, Taj tea or something if you take. So they are using this technology, removing oxygen. Whether filling nitrogen or not is the choice. In some packets, they are just vacuum sealed, especially some dry fruits and all. And otherwise, if you want that volume and want that space, then otherwise it would break in volume, like chips, they would break if a vacuum suction is done on them. So nitrogen is filled, oxygen is removed, and nitrogen is. So we got this idea from the food industry, because they are using it to preserve the food. So we thought that we can maybe use it for the other objects. So oxygen-free display and storage museum objects still remains complex and rarely used. As I said, that it is just we are trying for that skeleton thing in Shimla Museum. And we have provided that, we have given the provision of nitrogen, creation of nitrogen environment. So here, I'm just now talking the method, scientific method in archives or wherever. So these are the small packets we are creating. If suppose there are some important books, you don't have a cabinet, you want few things which are very important to be preserved. What would you do? Just see the setup over here. On my right side is this red thing is the heat sealing machine. We got a heat sealing machine. And here on the left side, on the left of my left hand, is a Y hose. And there's one outlet, and there are two pipes here, and there's a knob to close and open. And I'm about to seal a bag. And this bag has that object that needs to be preserved. And on this corner, there's a little sachet. And let's see what we are doing over here. First, from this bag, we are removing the air. Complete air is removed. One knob is opened to the vacuum pump, and the air comes out. It is closed for the time being. And then we close this knob, and nitrogen cylinder, the second is attached to the nitrogen cylinder, and we open that, and nitrogen goes inside. And then we heat seal it. And these are those bags, those important objects. They were separately packed like that and sealed. But this is done for the whole archive also. This is not in our country. That is the sad part. We have such rare collections I've seen in different state archives, and they're rotting. The ceilings are not proper, the air is stagnant, and they are in bad shape. But we can create a micro bubble for the whole rack or the system, or that can be done individually for the shelves. And there are different sizes. This is a huge one, and this is a small one for small object. This is the last method I'm talking about. So, but this plastic of this bag, this bubble, it looks like a normal plastic in these slides, but it is not a normal plastic. It is a special plastic, food grade plastic, जिसमें food preserve होते हैं. And these are the 5 layers. It looks like one single layer, but it is 5 layers, and at least 3 layers. I'll just talk about these 3 layers. Inner layer is the sealing film. Middle layer is the oxygen barrier, a plastic which doesn't allow a pass through. And layer on top of oxygen barrier must be present to prevent any damage. क्योंकि उसमें अगर कुछ scratch कुछ पड़ गया तो वो leakage हो जाएगी. So there is a protective layer. These are different chemicals. These are different plastics. List of the plastics that are preferred and why they're preferred, why they're not, where they're preferred, where they're not preferred. So this whole science. This is that little pouch that I said is sachet present in that bag. This is oxygen scavenger. If by any chance some oxygen is left after heat sealing, or it comes inside later on because of some leakage, so that is absorbed by, that is catched by these oxygen scavengers. There are again of different types available, and there are monitors to see the leakage, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam, for this wonderful session on this role of scientists in scientific methods for preserving historic archives. Now, dear participants, do you have any questions, or even from the online, in case they have any questions?
Please take any questions we have from the online.
Now, for those particular participants who are from the different branches, say suppose electrical, electronics, mechanical, for you the surprising part would be that all the scientific information that we get is from abroad. If madam, you can tell me that whatever the museum conservations we talk about, the sensors or the technologies, we are all getting from abroad.
That is the thing. I would like to, why I said we are developing. I did that. It is a lot of I in that. But I was saying that because when we approached the main manufacturers of such display cases and cabinets, there are just 2 companies. One is in Japan, Glassbahan, I think, and another one is in Italy, Hopium. And these are just 2, and they are supplying throughout the world, even in Europe. So when we approached them and we tried to know that if they can help us, they were very costly. The cheapest display case was for 25 lakhs at that time, some years back. So we are now trying to develop the things on our own, depending on our local requirements. They are cold countries. Most of the European countries are cold. So their requirements might be very different from our weather conditions and our requirements. So it is, that is why I proudly say that we are doing it, because we haven't taken anything from them. We have taken the idea, and this is not the idea is not just with them. It is a general idea that to have a micro environment, immediate environment, which should be ideal. And for our case, we don't need, if like in hilly areas or in other areas also, there are not much fluctuations in temperature. The main damage is just by the humidity. In our country, it is the humidity. So we are trying to develop things which are Indian, very much local. And I would love to have more ideas from any of the participants, if they can join or collaborate or give their precious ideas or knowledge, know-how.
Dear team, I want to interrupt, if you will allow me.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, you can.
Yes, may I ask you something?
Yes, Dr. Hina.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So very nice presentation, ma'am. Exactly, I want to tell you regarding this your presentation. That is exactly in a control aspect. As far as my experience is concerned, exactly my PhD is awarded in the year 2001. So the title of my PhD, ma'am, exactly the biodeteriorating component with special reference to fungi inside library environment, Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh. So regarding, ma'am, this is exactly a genuine problem. So the objects which are situated in a museums, archives, in the galleries, even our libraries also. So right now the libraries are also digitalized, but and for our time is concerned, all these books are old literatures are displayed in open manner. So, ma'am, I have regarding the Ministry of Environment and Forest, the two sampler they have given us, that is Anderson and Burkhardt sampler. We trap the arrow mycoflora, especially fungi, from the indoor environment of library. So regarding the control aspect, I have not worked, ma'am, that time. But regarding the authentic literature and the control measure, definitely it is a foreign country work. So it's a very, very great, that is a collaboration if you will give us chance in future also. And ma'am, kindly share the detailed address and everything, and I will ask you this. Definitely, I will coordinate you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
for highlighting us, ma'am. Very nice presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Hina.
Thank you.
And I would like to, yeah, your thesis was in biodeterioration and
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Regarding the madam in Lucknow, that is a National Research Lab for Conservation of Cultural Heritage. Yes, ma'am, and NRLLC, and even from the all over India, especially World Society, Dr. Shashi Dhawan.
Yes, I know, Dr.
No,
Shashi.
no, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, that is I attended one conference at AMU, Aligarh Muslim University. That is Professor Abdul, and from that time. But right now, sorry for the same. The madam is not in this world. But I'm writing a book chapter as the memory of ma'am. There's one Gujarat Professor Arya is collaborating. So this is a very interesting, along with the same the current scenario for this current object.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Dr. Hina. Rather, your thesis and my dissertation in MA are, I think, similar.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay.
On biodeterioration of paper material, and it was also published later. I presented a paper in Kanpur on, it was an international conference on biodeterioration.
That is,
And
yeah, DMRT, Defense Material Research.
no, I don't remember exactly. And Dr. O.P. Agarwal was there, and
O.P. Agrawal, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
and they especially came to me later on, and they wanted to know about, there was a new material that I had
Yes, yes.
tried to research on. I left my PhD in between about that. So it is a special, because I am all for the methods which are non-poisonous. So that was a
Okay.
chemical which is not acidic, it is neutral, it is a amino acid, and it controls biodeterioration because
Okay.
of fungi and how it interrupts the fungal growth. So I
Yes.
started that research in master's dissertation, and I wanted to complete it in PhD, but I left PhD in between, but I still have the material and I still use it.
Ma'am, from which university you belong? Which university?
I did it from National Museum Institute. My master's from National Museum Institute, and my PhD was also, I was selected in National Museum Institute.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Namita.
Thank you very much, madam. There are any questions? We can check it on the.
What should be the cheapest way to preserve your ancient?
What is your ancient resource?
I think because I am all for environment and not using chemicals and all, so I still prefer, though it is not very popular in our country, but I want to control the microenvironment. To have an environment boxes or whatever cabinets which have air, a system which is, and it is cheap. Like to create a positive pressure, we hardly use energy like your CPU of a computer. It needs a dust-free environment and it runs all through the day, day on and day off. And that kind of positive pressure is required. So it's a very little amount of electricity, and otherwise, if the ancient manuscripts or whatever is not frequently required for research or for reference, then we can put them in such bags as I just shown you. Special plastics, 3 to 5 layers thick, which do not allow oxygen or moisture to pass through them, even other gases. We put scavengers inside, which are mainly of iron and sodium chloride, which traps the oxygen, and there is some carbon because it absorbs other gases also. So this kind of microenvironment, if we create and we put our important things in that microenvironment, it would be, I think, the best way. It would be cheapest. Once you have done that work, once you have created that environment, you need not worry about anything. And there's no electricity, nothing in those bags, those bubbles. So I think that is the cheapest way.
So these are some of the acknowledgements. Thank you. Very good session. Most useful
Any
session.
questions from you over there?
Yeah. Any questions?
Okay, anything that while working you identified that this needs to be done by a person of mechanical engineering discipline, or let us do any engineering discipline that. For example,
Yeah, there are things like when we are developing these display cases, we do need engineering part, mechanical and electrical, all sort of engineering works. Because even for the hinge, I haven't shown you one display case. There's a one huge big display case that we have created, and it is not opening like this. It is vertical and it opens like a door. And for the hinges, it was a struggle, like to because we have to seal it also, and from both the sides it should be sealed. So just to carry that weight, to hold that weight of the glass, thick glass, and the glass is toughened glass, thick glass. So for that, there was we had a team, and the fabrication wasn't done by 1 or 2 persons. We sat together and they did such good experiments, and they had put a proper weight and then tested the hinges on first plywood doors, and a lot of engineering work was done. It is not that easy. So of course the collaborations and engineering know-how is required. So they look very simple, but to create those display cases, it wasn't that easy a job.
thank you.